On September 7th, 2025, the Nirvana exhibit Taking Punk to the Masses at the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle, Washington will be coming to a close after an impressive 14-year run. To me, this really feels like the end of an era, as this was the absolute best Nirvana exhibit any museum has hosted. Nothing even comes remotely close. I feel very lucky to have gone twice, in 2011 and 2019. The exhibit opened in April of 2011, and originally it was announced that it would only be a 2-year exhibit. There was a big grand opening party featuring many notable people from Nirvana's story. If you were there that day, here's who you might have bumped into while browsing the artifacts. Bassist Chris Novoselic, Kurt Cobain's mom and sister, Kurt's girlfriend Tracy Moroder, who he wrote About a Girl About, and early Nirvana photographer Alice Wheeler. There was also a live show at the grand opening, with Chris himself joining the presidents of the United States to perform on a plane. I was 17 at the time, and I begged, really begged my parents for us to go take a Seattle vacation, mainly so I could see that exhibit. We went in July of 2011, and my God, guys, it really was a life-changing experience to see so many of Kurt's guitars so up close. In addition to the exhibit, we went to all the Nirvana sites in Seattle, Olympia, and Aberdeen, and we even met and hung out with Kurt's grandpa, Leland Cobain. And yes, we actually did hang out with him. He invited us into his home, told us countless stories, and even let me and my brother hold the gold record for Nevermind that Kurt had gifted to him. And after all that, he invited my family to stay for dinner, but that's a story for another video. I never forgot the way that exhibit made me feel. So in 2019, when my wife and I went to Seattle, I was a very eager kid in a candy store going to MoPop to see Kurt's guitars again. With the announcement of the exhibit closing, I went back to look at all my photos from both times that I visited the exhibit. I am always referencing and using my 2019 photos here on my channel, and honestly very rarely look back at my 2011 pictures because the quality is so much worse. But for the first time in I don't know how many years, I went back and looked through everything I captured in 2011, and I found a lone 8-minute video. I had completely forgotten about this, but I basically filmed an entire walkthrough of that exhibit, showing every single artifact at a glance while specifically concentrating on all the guitars. Guitar-wise, the exhibit did thin out throughout the years, as Kurt's guitars started to get auctioned off one by one. So looking back, you would have seen the peak of the exhibit guitar-wise if you went in the first couple of years. So in this video, I'm very excited to present a little glimpse into the past, a complete walkthrough of the Taking Punk to the Masses exhibit, only 3 months after it opened. At the time when it had the most Kurt guitars it ever would during its entire 14-year run. Keep in mind that we are looking at 2011 handheld digital camera quality, so it's not anywhere near 2025 quality, but it's still pretty good. Also, I was obviously most focused on the guitar, so there's some artifacts we'll simply just walk by, but for those I will pause so we can get a better look at them. Alright, here we go. So the exhibit was on the second level, so when you went up these stairs here to get to it, you see this awesome giant print of an iconic Charles Peterson photo. And as you get to the second level, right in front of you is the entrance, Nirvana, Taking Punk to the Masses. So we already start out really strong in the first room that we walk into. There's an instrument for each member and awesome photos of them. This is one of Chris' Gibson Rippers. And here's a photo of him playing it right there. And then of course, one of the highlights right off the bat, Kurt's Mosrite Gospel. It was stolen shortly after the Nevermind sessions, and I don't really know the story of how they found it, how the museum got a hold of it, but it was there, along with this awesome picture of him playing it right behind it. And then to the left, one of Dave's drum kits, and a picture of Dave himself. So right off the bat, an amazing room with an instrument for each member right there. We'll be seeing many large prints of photos like that on the walls. Now is the point in the exhibit where we kind of start in chronological order. This is Kurt's school materials, pictures of him at school. And some drawings that he made at school. There was a documentary playing on loop on multiple screens across the exhibit. Now we'll pause here. Right here was something really cool. This is a wall of records that influenced Nirvana. You could listen to samples of each album with the 2 headphones that were provided here on the wall. So right away at a glance, we see the Germs, the Wipers, Black Flag, Flipper, Fugazi, the Pixies. Really cool to hear firsthand all those influences. Got some more really great photos. Here's one by Alice Wheeler. And now we've got some pre-Bleach artifacts, the bass, suitcase, and tape recorder Kurt used for his solo demo, which he called Organized Confusion. He used this suitcase as drums with wooden spoons. This tape was recorded in December of 1982 when Kurt was 15. At the time of me recording this video in 2025, this tape has never been heard or shared in any way. It's a big mystery. Now we're getting to the Bleach era. Here's Christ's very battle-worn Ibanez Black Eagle, used heavily in the Bleach era. Christ has said that he recorded Bleach entirely with a Black Eagle, and I'd feel comfortable betting money that this is the one. And it's right next to a handwritten setlist from the time, featuring many pre-Bleach tracks. Here's an actual copy of the Dale demo, Nirvana's first recording session from January 1988, which features Melvin's drummer, Dale Crover. An actual copy of Nirvana's first single, Love Buzz with Big Cheese, which is extremely rare and now sells for insane prices in the collector's market. Kurt's hand-drawn poster for Nirvana's show on March 19, 1988 at the Community World Theater in Tacoma. This is the first time the band played under the name Nirvana. The body of Kurt's very first Univox High Flyer. This was the Phase 3 that he used on the Dale demo and throughout all the shows in that time period, and it was smashed for good on October 30th, 1988 at the Evergreen State College in a dorm room show. And the bridge humbucker from this guitar would go on to be repurposed and installed in other guitars Kurt would use in the Bleach era. Here are some of Kurt's handwritten lyrics, handwritten set list, and another demo tape, this one called Safer Than Heaven. Some graphic design materials from Bleach. And this one's pretty cool, the original contract that Nirvana signed with Sub Pop Records. This right here is Chad Channing's giant northern drum kit just casually chilling above everyone, hanging from the ceiling. We're now starting to make our way into the Nevermind era. This is the body of Kurt's Aria Pro 2, used throughout 1990 and destroyed on September 22nd, 1990 at the Motorsports International Garage in Seattle. This right here is a poster for that show. As you can see, Nirvana wasn't even the headlining act, the Melvins were. This is the only Nirvana show with Mudhoney drummer Dan Peters. Future drummer Dave Grohl was actually in the audience and would replace Dan very shortly after. This right here is a handwritten flyer for Nirvana's show on October 11th, 1990 at the North Shore Club in Olympia, Washington. The very first show to feature Dave Grohl in the band. Alright, we're starting to get to the big stuff. This is the body of the Tom/Endless Nameless Strat, a guitar that was violently smashed many times, the first time being in studio during the recording of Endless Nameless. Right next to it is Kurt's iconic Sounds shirt that he wore at Reading 1991. These are road cases that I believe are from the Utero tour. I remember being amazed that these were just kind of out there with no glass and that you could touch them. On top is one of the Utero tour stage angels. Some more awesome photos. Alright everyone, we're now about to get to the most exciting parts. Here it is, the actual Vandalism Stratocaster. I don't know exactly when, but I do know this guitar wasn't on display for very long in the 14-year run. One of Kurt's cardigans. But this right here, this is peak Nevermind, and you can't change my mind. Kurt's 1969 Fender Competition Mustang that he used in the Smells Like Teen Spirit music video, right next to the sweater that he wore in that same video. Two hugely iconic pieces of music history right next to each other. In between them is Kurt's 1992 MTV Moon Man Award, which he notably had displayed in his bathroom. You could sit down here where they were playing all of Nirvana's music videos on a loop. I wish I would have gotten closer to this guitar, but it seems like there was a lady right in front of it that I was trying not to disturb. One of Kurt's Hot Rail Strats, probably most known for being used at the Seattle Center Coliseum in September of 1992. The second in Utero Tour Stage Angel, the one that still has its head, and the small red Marshall stack that Kurt had on stage during the In Utero Tour. Next to that is the Unplugged section, the acoustic guild bass that Chris used, and the Buck Owens acoustic that belonged to Chris but was used by Pat on both Unplugged and the In Utero Tour. The only thing missing here, of course, is Kurt's Martin D18E, but to my knowledge, I don't think that guitar was ever in this exhibit. They had this listed as the set list that was on Kurt's music stand during Unplugged. This is a set list from Nirvana's final show on March 1st, 1994 in Munich, Germany. Artifact-wise, it would seem like this was the end, but hidden away in a different room is the biggest highlight. Well, at least the biggest highlight for me personally. I'm still confused to this day why this guitar was tucked away in a different room. It eventually did get moved over to the main Nirvana exhibit as other guitars started getting sold. In this amazing guitar room is the one and only Skystang 1 along with its original strap. This right here is easily where I spent the most time. With the way they had it displayed, you could really get a close look at many different angles. Legitimately my favorite guitar of all time. Changed my life back then, still continues to change my life today. Going back out into the end of the exhibit, there's one more guitar for us to see at the very tail end. The two pieces of the body of the Bleach Mustang, destroyed for good on February 9th, 1990 at the Pine Street Theater in Portland, Oregon. That show is included in the 20th anniversary reissues of Bleach, and you can hear this guitar getting smashed at the very end. I just walked by here really quick because obviously I was only trying to get the Nirvana stuff, but I gotta point out that chilling right here is Jimi Hendrix's white Woodstock Stratocaster. No big deal, right? And now there's one last thing to round everything out. The shirt that Kurt wore on the cover of Spin magazine. That completes it for my walkthrough footage. I'm really sad that this amazing exhibit is coming to an end, and I feel for every fan who has dreamed of going and never got the chance. I've gotten so many messages from people saying just how heartbroken they are to hear the exhibit is closing because they were never able to go. I hope this video can serve as something as a visual reference to what the exhibit looked like when it had just opened in 2011. Huge thank you to MoPop in Seattle for putting on this exhibit in the first place and for so long. It was a really amazing run, and I doubt that any other museum exhibit will ever get to the same scale or quality as taking punk to the masses. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more weekly Nirvana gear videos, and I'll see you in the next one.